213. Again, the magic number is 270 to win the White House.
The White House is feeling very good about Georgia and about North Carolina. They're not feeling so great about Arizona. They feel that that was called too early. The governor of Arizona is saying that there's still 900,000 votes that are not counted in Maricopa County, and they feel like they're going to get a good chunk of those. We've heard the explanation from our decision team on why they made that decision, but it is clear that there's a lot of consternation on the Trump campaign side about the way that this is rolling out tonight.
And Martha McSally has refused to concede in Arizona. So let's bring in Darren Shaw, part of our decision desk, Republican pollster. Darren, let's just bounce around. First of all, let's start where we did with Arnon. He said he was 100%, and all you guys were on board with Arizona when you called it, how you called it. Just reliving that.
Well, you know, I appreciate Arnon's effort to get T statistic trending on Twitter. But the reality is that the estimates we've heard from the White House, and we have heard them, is that you know, the president needs to get about 61% out of the remaining vote. We think that's right. That estimate is actually pretty consistent with what we're seeing. However, our estimates are that he's on line to get about 44, 45% out of the remaining vote, which leaves him well short of what he needs. And so when Arnon talks about 100% confidence, you know, I think our standard is a 1 in 400 probability that the call will be wrong. And we've actually raised that in this instance to, I think, about 1 in 1,200.
All right, so where are you on Georgia? I mean, if we were close on Georgia, it seems like it would be T something by now.
Well, I'll you know, sort of spare you all, even though we're in the witching hour of the T statistic. But right now, the president's in pretty good shape in Georgia, but there's a big chunk of vote outstanding in Atlanta and in suburban Atlanta, in the counties sort of surrounding Atlanta proper. And our estimates are that it's going to narrow. And we've had some experience on the decision team with late vote coming in from these areas in Georgia. So we think it's going to tighten. You know, if you had to put money on it, I think the president probably retains an edge in Georgia, but we're not comfortable right now. You know, if Arnon is talking about 100% certainty, we're not near that right now. So unfortunately, I know everybody wants resolution, but I think we're going to be waiting a while on Georgia.
Overnight?
It's possible. You know, you never know. One of the interesting things tonight, Brett and Martha, is that the pattern of counting has really changed. It influences what your viewers are seeing. It influences what we're seeing from the decision desk point of view. And the flow has been uneven in different states. We were sort of expecting tranches to come in that were pro-Biden, and sometimes they did, but sometimes, you know, instead they would release the Election Day vote a little early, and that would skew pro-Trump. And so we're dealing with that. You know, you saw that in Virginia, where, you know, for 50%, 60% of the vote, the president was actually ahead. And then in the end, it went the way we thought it would. But we're dealing with that situation now in Wisconsin and in Michigan, where the early vote has been pretty much the president's vote. We expect Biden's vote to come in. The question is it enough to make up, you know, the deficit that Biden faces right now?
Well, let's talk about North Carolina and also Michigan. Pulling up North Carolina first, and then we'll go to Michigan. Arnon, your thoughts on that and when you might be able to call North Carolina?
Yeah, in Carolina, you know, the president retains a slight lead. You know, we're adhering to our not only, you know, traditional standards about levels of certainty, but we're also, you know, keyed in on things like, you know, there's no automatic recount. But, you know, there are provisions for recount. There are provisional ballots that are sort of in play. And so there's both the raw number, and then, you know, when the raw number separating the candidates isn't very great, all these other factors come in. So we're being pretty conservative with respect to those calls. The president's position in North Carolina is pretty strong right now, but we're not comfortable calling it. And the other state I believe you asked about was Wisconsin?
Michigan.
Michigan. Michigan, again, we expect a lot of the vote to be outstanding. You know, and in fact, they've sort of let us know that it probably won't be until around noon on Wednesday until they hit, you know, a very considerable portion of the vote. There's not going to be that much outstanding. We're not sure when they get to that point tomorrow morning that there's going to be enough difference separating the candidates that we're even comfortable calling it then. You know, Trump has been surprisingly strong in these upper Midwest states. And that's, you know, that's evident in the votes that you guys are looking at right now. We expect the mail-in votes and the votes that are counted after the fact, the ballots that are opened that were mailed in a few days ago or a few weeks ago, to skew heavily Biden. So the question is it enough? and we're not sure we're going to have enough difference, enough daylight between the candidates to make a call, not only tonight, but maybe even into tomorrow. And
So wait a second. Now you're saying Georgia is probably not tonight. Michigan is probably not tonight. Wisconsin's not tonight?
I think there's a good chance that that's where we're sitting.
And Pennsylvania is not
Carolina.
tonight.
Pennsylvania is strongly signaled, both before and then during the counting, that they're not going to have enough of the vote counted so that we can accurately classify what's going on there.
And North Carolina is not tonight?
North Carolina's counted a lot of their vote. It's possible we'll make a call on North Carolina tonight.
I should not say tonight. I should say this morning.
This morning. Yeah, no, that's good. And actually, I should be careful because this morning runs all the way up till noon tomorrow. So, noon today, sorry.
Right, but I mean, you guys are in touch with these folks about their counting.
Yeah.
It's possible that we're looking at 5 states.
It's possible. I think that's right. And you recall also that Nevada is still out there, and they've only begun to count. Nevada tends to count their vote pretty quickly, but yes, that's the situation we're in. And remember, this is a function of, in some ways, the pandemic and the adjustments in the voting rules and regulations that have occurred in light of the pandemic. A bulked up mail-in program means that, these election administrators are, by state law, in many instances, not able to count these until Election Day or sometimes beyond as mail-in ballots come into their possession. So that's all factoring in. Close elections, right, plus significant mail-in votes and slightly different election laws create the potential for this. And we thought this might be the case, and in fact, I think it's playing out right in front of our eyes.
Is there anything that has surprised you so far tonight, Darren?
Well, it's interesting. We were discussing this in the decision room. I mean, it looked like heading into this night that the president needed to run the table in 5 or 6 states where he was kind of trailing a little bit in the polls, right? So, you're, Florida, North Carolina, Georgia, Texas, et cetera, right? Ohio, et cetera, the states we've been talking about. And he's managed to hold most of those. We think he's not going to win in Arizona. And he may hold on in Georgia, but those states are sort of out there. If he loses those states, he's in a tough position. Pennsylvania obviously continues to be decisive. I think Georgia still surprises me a little bit, given what else has happened, that Georgia is still a possibility for Biden. And Arizona basically ended up exactly where it was polling. So, those states, I think, could be the president's undoing ultimately. But as I said, we got a long way to go. And I still think Pennsylvania, in a lot of ways, is going to settle this thing.
Because both of them could get over the hump, you're saying, with Pennsylvania.
Yeah, there's a hackneyed phrase, right? You're saying there's a chance.
Yeah.
Well, I think for both candidates, yeah, we're saying there's a chance.
Well, Darren Shaw, we appreciate your time. Usually every time somebody comes to the decision desk, you guys have a call. So get back in there.
Yeah, hopefully they've called it by the time I get back there.
Yeah. Thanks a lot for the time.
Thank you,
and
Darren.
We love digesting all of those numbers. Back with the panel. Chris, your thoughts on what was just said?
Well, there is some news, and that is that the Philadelphia election commissioners have now said that they're going to have no update until 9 o'clock tomorrow morning.
No, this morning.
Yes, this morning, sorry. And so, we're not going to have a Pennsylvania answer until well into tomorrow, if even then. I mean, we're not going to get it tonight. There's no chance of that.
By the way, you guys can't leave.
I was just going to say,
until we have a result. But you look at these states, and we're down to counting individual votes, and it's completely up for grabs. The presidency of the United States is completely up for grabs. We're going to have to cut. The polling goes out. The voter profile analysis gets out. It goes down to counting individual votes, and we will know when we know. And my guess is we probably won't even know tomorrow. I mean, with the Pennsylvania, and you could remember in a lot of these states. I mean, in Pennsylvania, they can count ballots unless there's a change in the court situation that have a postmark of today until Friday. In North Carolina, they could count ballots that have a postmark of today until November 12th. So this could go on for a while.
Well,
and
not only
will.
that, but you have, as I mentioned before, these absentee ballot requests and then the absentee ballots that came back. And there are hundreds of thousands in each one of these states that didn't come back.
But they would have to be postmarked by today.
Or maybe not in Pennsylvania if it's a smudge and it looks like it says November 3rd.
I think a lot of people simply didn't vote. I mean,
when I got my absentee ballot from Florida to vote, I sat down to fill it out right away. There's all kinds of races on there and judicial district decisions and judges I wasn't any aware of. And I thought, oh, I ended up putting it off. And I suspect a lot of people put it off in a lot of places and never got back to it and either didn't vote or maybe went and voted in person if they could. So I think a lot of those votes will never be counted because they were never cast.
Yeah, but the whole notion that people requested ballots suggests that they're of their own volition, that they wanted to vote. And it's a little bit like military votes. You know, they often are counted subsequent to
Yeah, but
that.
cast when?
It doesn't matter when they're cast.
It does matter when-
I mean,
it
they're
does
cast
matter when
before
they're
Election
cast.
Day.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is it doesn't matter if they get to the elections board by Election Day that they can be counted.
But those are often overseas ballots. I
Yes.
mean, that's the provision for that. I mean, how long does
The
it
law
take
makes
to get
provision for that.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. So the suggestion that somehow it's out of order or a matter of ineptitude or corruption is not fair.
Who knows?
Well, there's a group saying count every military ballot, and I'm all for it, but we're going to have plenty of time. Something tells me on a number of these states to count a lot of ballots. Dana, you're not leaving, actually. You're just going to be here.
I mean, now that I'm up, I might as well just stay up for the entire day.
And you've got the 2 o'clock.